I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and here today with me is George Salamis, President and CEO of Integra Resources. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Charlotte. It's a pleasure.
We last spoke quite a while ago at the beginning of the year when Integra had released inferred resources for the Delamar and Florida Mountain projects. What has the company's trajectory looked like in the months since then?
So that was obviously a pivotal point for the company, right? As a young company releasing a 3.5 million ounce resource in southwestern Idaho was pivotal for us, and it was a great starting point for us to kick off our exploration program, which literally started right after that. And so since then, we've done about 20,000 meters of drilling in addition to other studies. We've learned a lot about the geology, and we've had some tremendous success in drilling the extensions of this large ore body, 3.5 million ounces in total between the two projects.
Right, and you've definitely got a lot going on this month. Even you've released a couple of sets of drill results. Can you put those into context for investors?
Sure can. And so in the exploration business, we try to start with what's known, and then we kind of step in increments into the unknown. So we started in an area of Delamar, the deposit, drilling right on the edges of what the resource was, and we were getting really phenomenal results, really big, long runs, 150 meters, 200 meter runs that were about twice the resource grade, which is spectacular. And then we said to ourselves, okay, well, let's keep stepping away from this to see where it goes. And we were stepping out in 100 and 250 meter increments and getting this great success. So what that all points to is resource growth and expansion potential, like early in the new year when we go to do our next resource estimate.
How are you funding this activity? I've heard a lot of discussions lately about availability of capital, or lack thereof, in the mining space lately.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously been very difficult for everybody, right? When you have two of the major sources of financing in terms of funds basically shut down in the last year, that hurts. When we came to market last year and we raised our $27 million, we didn't go to the traditional sources to raise our money. We went to more of a retail crowd, and so rather than go to the large funds, we went to people like Pierre Lassonde, who was the founder of Franco-Nevada, and Ross Beatty, obviously that's a name I'm sure you hear often, and the two Cisco's, Cisco Mining and Cisco Royalties for funding. And so that formed the basis of our total capital raise. We put a lot of money, over $1 million of our own capital into the funding as well. And so I believe that those shareholders invested in us for the long term, and I believe this pool of, I'm going to call sort of faithful retail, are going to follow us into the next financings that we do.
Okay, yeah, it's great to have those big names behind you for sure. Yeah. We're here at the Denver Gold Forum right now, and I heard yesterday one company saying there's been a bit of a revival in Idaho gold exploration, which is where you are. Mm-hmm. Can you speak to that?
Sure, and we're seeing it across the board. So a couple of things, events that have occurred in the last year really speak to that. One, you've had a project such as Midas Gold, example, their Stibnite project, a massive gold project. They've been in the permitting stage for a number of years, and it's a project that has to be built because it's one of those exceptional ore bodies. They are in the final stages of permitting. I believe that the investing public have now become believers that is going to get permitted. You saw Barrick invest $35 million into them. They obviously did a lot of due diligence, so they like what they see. They believe that Idaho is a great place to do business. Our own experience up to now has been phenomenal. In terms of drill permitting, drill permits have taken 4 weeks, which is phenomenal to get. So that kind of speaks to the permitting aspects of things. We're seeing a lot more companies come in and start investing in Idaho as well. A lot more junior activity out there in Idaho. And last but not least, it's the government support. So I'll give you a great example. We did a tour with the governor of Idaho, Butch Otter. It was in May. And we toured New York, Bay Street and Wall Street essentially. And we drew a packed crowd in both locations. So the governor was talking to an audience of mining investors saying, we welcome all mining investors, and Idaho is a great place to be investing. And when you have a highly elected official like that, the governor of Idaho, it's coming out and speaking with the mining companies and their support, that's very rare, and I think that's a key point that shows their support.
Okay, that's great. Last thing, the big news this week, especially at this conference, has been the deal between Barrick and Randgold. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's a positive sign for the gold space?
Oh, I absolutely do. I've always been a big proponent of consolidation. I believe that there are too many of us striving for too small a pool of capital. And so when you start to get big names like that are putting themselves together, that's always a good thing. And it makes mining investing that much easier. You don't no longer have to pick from a large pool; it's a smaller pool. So I think that's good. And once the consolidation starts to happen at the top end, eventually investment focus, because of the dollars that are made through that consolidation and investing, trickle down to our end of the spectrum. It's a trickle down effect. I think it's a great thing.
That's great. We'll leave it there for now unless you have any final thoughts to share with investors.
No, that's great. Look out for some great news in the balance of the year and into next year. Thanks.
Okay, well, thanks so much. Once again, I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and this is George Salamis with Integra Resources.